Sean, he was my dad?
It can't have been easy to learn the truth about his father's identity so unexpectedly, and too late to ever get to know him.
You know how hard I tried to find him? Sean, I get it, he was the president, he had a lot more to think about than just me. But he was right there in front of me, right there on the set. So why? Why didn't he just say something? Why didn't he tell me who he was? I'm sorry, Sean. I'm so sorry. It's not your fault, Mum. It's mine. If I hadn't broken my promise to you, that fire would never have happened, and he wouldn't have. I ruined everything. Everything. It's all my fault. I even ruined your flowers. Sean, please, you mustn't blame yourself. Just try to be here with me. Just for a little while.
The bond between parent and child, as symbolised by the lion lily. I'm no expert, but it's native to Zhangfa. I know that much at least. Sadly, we don't have the luxury of dwelling on such things just now. I know it might seem insensitive, Agent Lang, but sentimentality won't help us here. We need to focus on what we can do about the case before us. You're right. I believe we learned all we need to know about what happened back then for now. How did it all line up with your father's theories about the case? I wouldn't know. He took those to the grave with him. He never shared his thoughts with anybody. There's no way of knowing now what he figured out. What about your own thoughts? Are you feeling any more positive in light of what we learned from Kay's reconstruction? Are we any closer to learning what really happened 12 years ago? You know, I think we might be. My father's footsteps are starting to become clear. Now all we need to do is follow them. All the way to the truth. The president went to the orphanage that night. That much we know for sure. The Torturosaurus toy proves it. He must have gone there to meet with Emil Fenn. Except he was kidnapped, and Aldown happened to see it. If Aldown hadn't been there, there wouldn't have been a murder, just a kidnapping. Instead, they had to move his body to the planters and stage the photo to throw everybody off the scent. So that's our current theory, is it? There's something I still don't understand. There is. This. Why risk staging the picture? They would have had to force the president to play along. What if he hadn't? It's a good question, and we may be closer to discovering the answer than we think. We'll just have to get there one deduction at a time. Yeah, I guess we will. Alright, deduce away. Nothing should be taken for granted at this stage. We need to treat even the seemingly certain with caution. Can we really be sure the president went to the orphanage? I get it. You want evidence. This is a nice change of pace from people asking you to show them proof, huh, Mr. Edgeworth? There's no need to actually say it out loud, Kay.
Hold it!
The plushie. It has a recording device concealed inside it, correct? It does. And it was used by Sean's mother, Emil, to record a message asking the president to meet her at the orphanage at midnight. Wow, you're finishing your own sentences now? What a team! You two will peel away the layers of truth like an onion, I'm sure of it. You do realise there's nothing underneath all the layers of an onion, don't you, Kay? Can you try and say something a little less unfortunate sounding?
You two appear the way that eyes are the truth like the skin of a wolf, I'm sure of it.
He said less unfortunate sounding. Shall I continue?
Hold it!
Could we go over the details once again? So Mr. Aldown saw the president being kidnapped and right by the orphanage.
He was standing next to the snowman.
The murderer crept up behind him, grabbed a brick and... Oh!
Ah!
Calm down, Kay. We're simply verifying our understanding of events.
Yeah, well, the little outburst just blew my understanding out of my ears. I know we have to go over all this again, but can we do it less dramatically?
Really? In this game series? Do you know where you are, Kay? This is Ace Attorney, damn it! Fine. I'm happy to keep answering if you're happy to keep asking.
Hold it!
If Mr. Ardall hadn't been there, huh? That's an interesting suggestion. Care to explain? There's not a whole lot to explain. He saw the kidnapping, so he was murdered. If he hadn't been there, maybe the kidnapping could have happened without any blood being spilled. But could it?
It makes it sound as if Mr. Ardow's thought he was murdered.
That's not what Agent Lang is saying, Kay. What he means is that Mr. Aldown was the only person who died at the orphanage that night.
Well, of course he was. They kidnapped the president and everything. The ransom was paid, so he came home safely, right?
She's right, of course, but why does something bother me about that? I think it might be worth taking another look over all the evidence.
Finished discussing things with your assistant, Mr. Prosecutor? Let's continue, shall we?
Hold it!
This is another very important part of our current theory. Shall I go over all the details again?
Sure, probably a good idea. First, what did Aldown see? The president being kidnapped from right in front of the building.
But the kidnappers were keen to avoid any suggestion that they might be connected with the orphanage.
Yeah, they replaced the film in Aldown's camera and staged a photograph of the kidnapping occurring further away from the building.
Indeed. Then they moved Mr. Aldown's body to a location consistent with what happened with that picture showed.
The secrets buried underneath the snow 12 years ago are finally coming to light. I'm sure what really happened that night? What's the matter, Mr. Edgeworth?
I get the sense we're still not seeing everything. There's something else at play behind it all.
There is, but what?
There's a piece of evidence we discovered that Agent Lang's theory can't explain. We have to present him with it and develop our thinking further.
Objection!
No, never mind. Oh, the blood wasn't Aldown's.
Objection!
There we go. You're saying there would have been no murder if Mr. Aldown hadn't witnessed a kidnapping? Is that really the case?
Why wouldn't it be? The main aim was to dub the president, right? If there hadn't been a witness present, they wouldn't have needed to murder anybody.
And yet it remains possible Mr. Aldown wasn't the only person killed that night. There was a large pool of blood between the planters, but Mr. Aldown was murdered over by the snowman. It can't have belonged to him. What if all the blood by the planters belonged to somebody else?
Come on, Mr. Prosecutor. You do realise what you're saying, don't you?
I do. It's hard to believe. I'll be the first to admit it. But it's what the evidence suggests. Not just one person was killed here 12 years ago, but two.
You're saying they covered up a whole separate murder? But whose? Who else was killed that night?
Whoever covered up this other homicide did so very skillfully indeed. They even seem to have been able to avoid it being mentioned in the files. But they didn't quite get rid of everything. We have a piece of evidence from 12 years ago that never managed to erase. Is this where the drawing comes in?
Take that!
Excelsius Winner tried to shroud the existence of the other murder in darkness. There's one piece of evidence he wasn't able to suppress. Thanks to the efforts of your father, Agent Lang.
My father?
Cast your mind back, if you will. Something else was hidden among all the other evidence in the crime scene. The existence of the child who set the fire in front of the orphanage. Why would Chairman Winner wish to erase him from the record? Because he saw something he shouldn't have, that's why.
He did? What was it?
It's right here in this picture.
The picture my father kept.
I think we can all agree that the president on the right-hand side, and that's the Torosaurus toy in his hand.
But who's that standing across from him?
Take that!
Eastern robes and a black dog. That could only be Bodhikama Kanis.
What? The creepy assassin guy?
And what would a hired killer be doing in the presence of a president? I can only think of one thing. That's right. It wasn't a kidnapping that occurred here 12 years ago. It was an assassination.
Ayah! And Warden McGard and Chairman Winner were...
Yes, I believe they were complicit. More than complicit, in fact. One provided the venue for the killing. The other suppressed the testimony of the child who witnessed it. Mr. Oldham was murdered because what he actually witnessed was an assassination. Not the kidnapping he thought it to be at all.
Do you think I'm an idiot? How could the president have died 12 years ago? We only found his body this morning. He's alive and well until just recently. Yeah, we even met him.
Indeed. So we have a president killed 12 years ago and a president killed in the last 48 hours. Two presidents, in other words.
Right, which is completely impossible.
Or is it? I think it's entirely possible for there to have been two presidents. In fact, that would explain a lot. The president Agent Lang spoke of was a noble and capable leader. Entirely unlike the man we met. It really did seem as if the two were completely different people. But how could one country have two presidents? What could explain a situation like that? This is how it was possible for them to have been two presidents. One of the two was a body double. Tell me it doesn't make sense.
A body double?
President Wang was a man of great power and influence in Zhengfa, a figure on the world stage. There must have been countless attempts on his life over the years, such as the one at Gourd Lake only a few days ago.
It's true. There were more than a few assassination attempts. That doesn't mean I'm about to accept that there was more than one president. Not without proof.
Do we have any proof there was more than one president? Nope. That proof has no mouth. If you could prove you'd ever been in two places at once. Ah. Maybe it is the camera lamp.
Take that!
Nope.
Take that!
Oh, this is it! This is it! Okay, sorry. I don't think he noticed the contradiction staring him in the face, or maybe just unable to accept it. What's the matter, Mr. President? Mr. Prosecutor? You're pretty quiet all of a sudden. In Emil Finn's recording, she asked the President to be at the orphanage at midnight, but it shouldn't have been possible for him to be there at that time. Huh? How come? Because he was supposedly still at the embassy. With your father, Agent Lang. So he had noticed. The only way he could have been in two places at once is if there were two of him. Oh! So the real president, that was the one who died 12 years ago? I think it might have been. But why and who? Who would have hired Kanis to murder the president? In order to figure that out, we need to look again at the piece of evidence that was recently discovered as fake. Fake evidence. What was it again?
Take that!
No. It's okay. This one's real again, isn't it? Take a close look at this for me, please, Agent Lang. What about it? It shows exactly who is responsible for President Wang's assassination. I know this is hard for you, but it's only going to get harder. You think that's why I'm not saying anything? Oh, fuck off! I'm speechless. What kind of theory is that? Perhaps they wanted to take his place. That seems to be a believable motive. I really need to present Agent Lang with evidence showing who they are. No, no, surely
Take
not,
that!
right? Right, thought not. Fake evidence. I don't know, I've fucking slept since then.
Take that! Take that!
There we go. The picture was taken with Mr. Aldown's camera and was staged sometime after his murder. And Mr. Aldown was murdered because he witnessed the president's assassination. In other words, the photograph too must have been taken after the real president's death. So who's the president in the staged photograph? The body double. Nothing else makes sense. I believe the president's double had him killed so he could take his place permanently. An Excelsius winner of FIFA Lagarde helped him to do it. Wait, you don't even have a body to support your theory. Are you telling me it magically disappeared? No, if I would know exactly where it wound up. The president's body was here the whole time.
Take that!
Chairman Winger dug something up last night, something he couldn't trust anybody else to retrieve. We thought it might have been the ransom money, but it was actually something even more important. Wait, you mean... That's right, the real president's body. I think it's highly likely anyway. What? The body may have decomposed in the intervening years, but the bones surely would have remained. Mr. Powers informed us that construction is due to start here sometime soon. Everything had to be wrapped up before then. The shooting of the movie and the recovery of the president's remains. I guess once they start digging the place up, they would have found him pretty quick, huh? Agent Lang, we need to have the so-called monster footprints analyzed again. Yeah, I guess we do. If there's a body under one of them, there should be trace evidence to confirm it. Hey, get me someone for forensics! Sir, presenting the findings of our analysis, sir. Trace of human remains were found in the dirt along with signs of a body being buried. So it really was him. Bones were also recovered from the home of Excelsius Winner. The physique looks to be about right, and dental and medical records are a match. It's him, no doubt about it. So as suspected, the real President Wang was killed 12 years ago, and the SS5 kidnapping was in fact a homicide. So it really was a murder, huh? The case is taking so many twists and turns I'm starting to lose track. Yes, perhaps we should summarise our findings just to confirm that we understand everything correctly. Good idea. Let's go everything from the point where the president arrives at the orphanage. 12 years ago, the real President Wang visited the orphanage. His aim, to meet his infant son. The footprints we originally assumed to be those of Mr. Alldown seem likely to have actually been made by the President upon his arrival. But instead of being greeted by his child, he was met by the assassin, Kanis. That's so sad. He was hoping to see his baby for the first time, only to... Indeed. But at least with Mr. Kanis, we can be sure the job was swiftly and effectively completed. But then, after the assassination, another tragedy occurred.
Mr. Alldown's murder.
Yes, it seems he witnessed a key moment in the evening's proceedings. The moment our culprits, the so-called kidnappers, took the President's body around the side of the building. That was the sight that sealed his fate. We've now established that he was standing by the orphanage gates at the time. Far enough away that he believed he was seeing the President's abduction. At which point...
Oh, the body double who came to meet up with his co-conspirators, all right up behind Mr. Alldown.
Leading to an unfortunate eyewitness
being murdered by the man who was looking to replace the President. It was the body double who moved Mr. Alldown's body too?
Yes, I think it probably was.
But none of the footprints could have been his, could they?
Actually, I think they could. We have a piece of evidence that proves how that particular trick was achieved.
Take that!
What if the President's double moved Mr. Alldown's body like this? After killing Mr. Alldown, he could have carried him to the other side of the entrance. Given his job was to look just like the President, he would have been wearing the same shoes, meaning if he stepped exactly in the footprints left by the real President...
Of course! His would have been the same shape and size. It would look like the single set of footprints. That's how it all went down? I'm glad we finally figured it out. There's one thing I still don't get.
There is? What?
Why did they need to pretend there was a kidnapping?
Mr. Alldown had seen the President at the orphanage and left a message on Ms. Ringer's phone describing what he thought he saw. It would have been impossible for the conspirators to erase that message, so they had to make it look as if the events described in the message were true.
By staging a kidnapping like the one he thought he saw?
Exactly. I think the two people in the photograph are likely to be the body double and Fifi Lagarde.
She's the one in the trench coat? How can you be so sure of that?
The two of them would have to walk out beyond the orphanage gates to set the photo. The body double could have put his feet in the real President's prints as he did before.
So the other set of footprints were hers?
The ones originally thought would have belonged to the killer, yes. They're about size 9, too small for Chairman Winner in other words, which means the kidnapper must have been played by Warden Lagarde. That explains how a so-called kidnapping was actually a presidential assassination.
It does, which means my father must have...
He must have...
noticed. There's no way he wouldn't have suspected a murder. Especially not with the kid's picture as proof. But the picture was never officially put into evidence, correct?
No, he appears to have kept hold of it after taking the witness statement of the child who drew it.
Yeah, because he knew. He knew President Wang was dead. He knew it would happen if that news ever got out.
Zheng Fa would have been plunged into chaos, no doubt.
So he kept it a secret, and that secret died with him. Although, it meant taking the blame for the kidnapping and our family name to be ruined.
So your father knew the truth about what happened 12 years ago, but chose to hide it. Well, it's finally coming to light at last. Is it indeed intriguing? Huh? What? Who's there? That sound. Is that a bell? Bodhikama Kanis. What the heck are you doing here? We're the law. You think you just shout up in front of us like it ain't a problem? Forgive me, but I couldn't help but overhearing the fascinating conversation you were having. The opportunity to gloat over your past crimes is just too good to miss, I expect. You killed President Wang. I did, but it's not something I'm inclined to gloat over. I was more interested in something else you mentioned. Or someone else, I should say. Someone you're looking for, I suppose? Exactly. That's why I took a little sojourn from the penitentiary to find a certain young pup. A young pup in a rather eye-catching red raincoat. What? Wait, you know who they are? In a manner of speaking. What would you call them again? A secret mastermind? The prosecutor looks a little surprised, doesn't he, Helmut? Yes, he does. The young pup I mentioned, he saved my life, 12 long years ago. As you summarized, it is I who killed President Wang. But that meant I too became an inconvenience in need of removal. The imposter president, Winner, the guard, all three were keen to guarantee my silence. If I hadn't met my friend, the young pup, again, they might have even succeeded. I wonder what he's doing now. So it was the president's body double who hired you? I remember his words almost as if they were yesterday. You know how many times I've nearly been killed? Not once, not twice, a bunch of times. Why do I have to take all the risks? Why am I the one they always put in danger? When I'm out there being hidden, people treat me like I was him. They worship me. So what's the difference? Who's to say I couldn't be just as good as him? There was a difference, of course. Even if he did look and sound exactly the same. Just because he walks and talks like a president doesn't make it a president. Does it, boy? No. So he got his wish and became the boss, but couldn't quite fill his predecessor's shoes. Seems the king and his knight were much in the same. The president's double knew that his employer had a weakness, a young woman named Emile. In order to find her, he needed to enlist the help of locals. Locals such as Chairman Winner? Once Miss Fenn had been located, they simply needed to find the right time to lay their trap. The meeting she arranged with the president could meet his son. That would have been the perfect opportunity. Indeed. And with the head of the orphanage brought into the fold, their little conspiracy was complete. Warden Lagarde. Now, quid pro quo. Where might I find the pup? What makes you think the boy who helped you and our mysterious string puller are one and the same? He set a little fire that night, out there in the yard of the orphanage. Oh yeah, we saw that. It was some kind of prank, right?
A prank? Nothing of the sort, my dear. No, as I understand it, he'd taken refuge in the igloo by the entrance. From there, he happened to see Winner and the guard carrying away a dead body. He also overheard them hatching a little sordid plot. A plot to remove me, the only other person who knew what really happened, from the picture. Thankfully, he was kind enough to come and inform me. I was waiting inside the building, you see. He also happened to mention later on he was wearing his favorite red raincoat. In any case, he escorted me from the premises. And being a very considerate boy, fortunately erased both our footprints from the scene of the crime. Seems he had a little kerosene set aside the igloo resistant to the occasion. He sprayed out liberally about the place and set himself a little fire.
No way! That's what the fire was for?
It must have been so beautiful. Winner and the guard were positively enchanted. While they were distracted by the show, he took the opportunity to usher me out a side entrance.
You never answered my question. You really think he's the one behind all this?
I do indeed. Don't I, Helmet? Yes, I do.
Hold it!
You're pretty forthcoming with that particular admission.
If I'm honest, Mr. Edgeworth, I'm tired of all the killing. Back then, I felt that death was my path. I embraced it. I strove to learn what it had to teach. I've made my peace with that. I'm happy to admit it. Aren't I, boy? Yes, I am.
I'm not sure what he's talking about, but I definitely don't like the sound of it. Basically, he thought nothing of murdering the president. And not only is he an assassin, he's now a prison escapee, not one to be trifled with. We can't afford for him not to talk. I need to tread as carefully as I can. Very well, you killed the president and you're happy to admit it.
Oh, very much so. I wouldn't want you thinking I drew my blade and missed.
Hold it!
You're a target, but you're an assassin. Sometimes the hunter must become the hunted. Sometimes the living must become the dead. Please, Kay, don't feel the need to add a proverb of your own.
Impertinence is inherent to the way of the assassin. Life takers' lives are taken, so it goes.
Oh, I think that was impermanence, not impertinence. Sorry. Wait, does that mean the people you're sent to kill sometimes try to kill you back, or...?
It happens occasionally. That's not what happened this time.
Hold it!
But Mr. Kanis, you're a professional killer, and a famously skilled one at that. Surely escaping even 3 attackers would have been more than a minor inconvenience.
You overestimate me, Mr. Edgeworth. You seem to forget without Helmet here I couldn't even walk down the street. Against 3 assailants I wouldn't have lasted more than a few seconds.
I see. Even the most proficient assassins are ill-equipped to face a full frontal assault.
We're not usually fond of such situations, shall we say. I certainly wouldn't have liked my chances.
Hold it!
Again? So the 2 of you met before?
Yes, on a cold and lonely Christmas Eve 18 years back.
That long ago?
On that occasion, it was I who saved his life. It was snowing, more than it had in years, and cold enough that death by freezing was a real possibility.
I'd taken Helmet out for a little walk. That's an old-ass dog, then. He noticed something and bounded off through the snow. When I caught up to him, he was sniffing at a car. The doors had frozen shut. It took all the strength I had, but I managed to open one. Inside I found two young boys shivering and semi-unconscious. Whoa. Where's that case file? Carmelo Gusto and Auntie Frost's sons were both visiting the mansion up through the day before the incident. The whereabouts are unknown. There we go. Now it's making sense. Two? Yes, I found them even an hour later. The poor wretches would have never made it. I took them both to the nearby orphanage. I didn't realize there's something significant about what he just told us. What is it about Kanis' statement that's especially noteworthy? This was on Christmas Eve 18 years ago? You're certain of that? I am. Holy smokes! We have something that shows why the date's so significant.
Take that!
That was the same day on which a certain incident occurred. The murder of a well-known sculptor. No way! An incident in the aftermath of which 2 children went missing. The son of the victim, Artie Frost, and the son of the murderer, Carmelo Gusto. Now you mention it, the little guys did go AWOL, huh? Intriguing. The son of a murderer and the son of his victim. I suppose it would make sense. It would. One of the boys was band, hound and foot, you see. That must be part of Mr. Frost's plan to stop Mr. Gusto's son from getting into the competition. Indeed, without his son to taste his creations, Mr. Gusto would have had no chance of winning. So that's what was behind it all. Sadly, neither of the boys were able to remember any such details. They weren't? No. When we met each other again on that night 12 years ago, the young pup explained it to me. It seemed they really were on the brink of death when I found them. The shock of the experience caused them both to lose their memories. They weren't even able to remember their names. Wow, they wouldn't have known they were Mr. Frost and Mr. Gusto's kids? If what he's telling us is true, that would seem likely, yes. Which means we certainly have enough to tell us what our mastermind might be. Mr. Kanis, would you mind telling us what happened next? By all means. The pup and I remained in contact even after I was sent to prison. Then I stopped hearing from him. I couldn't help but worry. Then people from 12 years ago started cropping up all over the place. It rather piqued my curiosity, so I thought I'd temporarily regain my freedom to look into things. People from 12 years ago? You mean Lagarde, Winner, and the President, I assume? Well, Warden Lagarde was in charge of the prison where he was an inmate the whole time, right? I feel I wasn't as kind to her as I could have been. But then, she did try and have me killed. You already know why, of course. Because you murdered President Wang, but they needed the world to believe he was still alive. If somebody had exposed the president as a fake, it would have been bad for Lagarde and Chairman Winner too. Exactly. And not only that, I happened to overhear something else intriguing that night. I'll be at the orphanage on the evening of the 9th. I'll be waiting in the front yard. I thought you could meet him if you like, even if it's only just this once. I know you're a very busy man, but anyway, that's where he'll be. Who are you? Sorry, but I'm waiting for somebody.
I know you are, President Wang. I couldn't help overhearing the news. Congratulations. But please don't worry about your son. I only kill those I'm employed to kill, which in this case means you.
No. Wait, this is my first chance to meet him. It might be my only chance. Please give me just a few minutes longer.
I thought he was going to beg for his life, but no. An interesting character. I told him I was not aware he had a child. No, he said, and shook his head. Neither was I, but the world will know I now have one. I mean to make sure of it. I've even prepared something in case the worst comes to the worst. And the son in question was the young gentleman with the horns here, correct? Horns? You can see them? I don't need to, my dear. I've been listening very carefully, you see. For longer than you may realize.
So the president meant to tell the world about Sean and prepared something in case of the worst? It's not enough to simply have Kanis' word on the matter.
Of course. We have something that proves he's telling what the president said is true. The will. A will everybody knew about. He entrusted it to my family to show his belief in us, after all. The name in the recording, the preparations he had made, and his will. With those 3 pieces of information, I was able to convince Warden Lagarde to do anything I asked.
With the information at his disposal, he could have exposed the truth about the body double at any time, and Sean's true identity with it.
President Wang was more agile than I expected. He blocked my first knife thrust with something soft. By the time the piece I'd broken off hit the snow, my next strike hit its mark.
So it was Kanis who tore the horn off the Tortosaurus doll.
I was the only one present to hear his final words. The only one who knew the truth about his son. Well, me and that poor pup.